welcome. This is Crypt, and today we're going over Atlas, the Basilisk. Just as a note to start off with, I make these builds usually around a theme, and they're made to be fun, and enjoyable, and comfortable. They are not made to be damage capped and stuff like that. But, just to start off with, we're going to go right into their abilities and whatnot, so we're not wasting too much time. So, just to go into Atlas's abilities, so you can see them normally, let me see here. I'm going to tab over to this one, and then we're going to go to abilities. Alright, so this is Atlas, the Rockman. Alright, so his basic passive is he becomes immune to knockdown while on the ground. Perfectly normal. So basically you can do rocket launchers and stuff, straight your feet, you won't get staggered or anything else like that. If you jump and you hit with a rocket, it will stagger you. You can stagger and knock down in the air, but not while you're on the ground. The first ability of Atlas is basically his entire kit. This is the move you're basing everything around to begin with. So, it's called Landslide. Basically, you just kind of dash forward and punch someone. It's got basically like a 3-hit combo thing it does. 3-hit combo. And it's pretty effective. It's affected by power, strength, and range mods. Let's see here. Tectonics. Most people don't like this move. I think it's funny as hell. I don't usually use it too often, but believe it or not, when you're in like a defense or a mobile defense and you're using Atlas, just kind of tossing this thing up in front of something works quite nicely. You don't need to use the boulder effect. Here we go. And then we got Petrify. So Petrify is actually his, we'll call it his damage increasing ability, because we have a lot of frames in the game nowadays that have a damage increase or the vulnerability increase or something like that. And that's what this is. It's a vulnerability increase as well as a crowd control effect. It's got some weird interactions when it comes to duration sometimes, but basically when you use it, it turns everyone in your sight to stone in like a coned area. Gives them a damage vulnerability, as you can see there. Then we have the Rumblers. Now, I will tell you that my build has the Rumblers assumed off, but there are a lot of fun things you can do with the Rumblers. They are not great. They will not get you through high-end content or anything like that, but there are a couple different, a couple different augments that can change it to a big Rumbler, or even turn you into a Rumbler, which is a few builds out there in the world of you becoming Rumbler, which is funny as hell. But anyways, let's go over to what we have, though. Hold on. Nope, that's not what I wanted. I'm gonna go there. So, what we have here actually is I have subsumed Orpheum Eyes onto my Atlas. This is the ability from Jade, as some people are referring to her, the Prego Warframe. Basically, you walk around, everything you can see in the same kind of cone that your Petrify will work in is going to lose its armor. It's going to take a little bit of fire damage. It's insignificant, but it's a fire proc, so it also takes away armor. And gives it a little DOT, which will add to things like condition overloads and stuff like that. It's something crazy going on in the background here. We'll deal with that in a second. But anyways, so it's got a decent duration in this build. Let's see, those are the abilities and the passives. Then you can tell that I got a few different weapons on here for the whole kit. This is where you mod his weapon. This weapon here is for fun. I put this on because, like I mentioned before, his passive allows you to take explosive hits and not get knocked down like it looks like he's doing right now. I don't know what is going on with that light in the background. Alright, it's gone. Sorry about that. Anyways, so this is a choice weapon. Have it be whatever you want, though I do recommend something that's considered a rifle, so you can use Amalgam Serration, which is right here. And this will give you some more sprint speed. I know he dashes forward, but having more speed to move around in melee is very important. You need to get around the map easily and efficiently. Even if you're not very good at the parkour stuff, you need to have enough speed to do it. So, part of the actual build, though, the Grimoire is part of it. It's really for, honestly, pumping up things. And then we have the Techo Prime, because I like the Techo Prime. But let's go over Atlas first here. So, as you can tell, I've got Steel Charge, Rush, and almost more speed, as I was mentioning before. We don't need Prime Sure-Footed because of the fact that he's got the knockdown resistance. This gives you the extra 60% to melee damage, which is Landslide is considered melee attack. And then we have, well, let's continue on the mods first. I don't know, I'm jumping ahead. Then we have Umbral Intensify. I'm running triple Umbral, as you can see here. The tower resistance is nice, whatever, when you're dealing with sentience, but he's also a decent frame to run the triple Umbral on. Also, I have a tendency to run Umbral mods. I don't know why, I just like to. I guess like to have a little more chunkier health. But yeah, so that gives me a 77% ability strength just from that. And then I'm running Archon Stretch. I'm running the Archon version because my pet can actually proc the effect, which will allow me to get the energy regen over time. And since this is a duration ability, I can have an energy regeneration. It just helps with the energy economy a little bit. Obviously, we're looking at an equilibrium as well over here, which is going to help with that tremendously. That's the main point of the main amount of energy economy, but it doesn't hurt to have a little bit extra. Then we have Augur Reach, so that when I use my abilities, I get some shields back. They let me take advantage of some limited shield gating. Plus, it gives me a little extra range on, my landslide here, as well as the Petrify and the Orpheum Eyes here. But I don't need a lot of range in this build, especially since you can add more range with primed reach onto landslide when we mod that. So let's continue on. So like I said, the triple umbral. Then we also have and then I have energy nexus here for more energy regen. So basically, if Atlas runs out of energy, he can't use this first. If he can't use this first, you lose infinite invincibility, because when you're spamming it, you're invincible. Or when you use it, you're invincible during the actual animation. Plus, you want to make sure you can maintain his other moves, so that's why energy access is here. You could obviously, if you feel like you could go without this, especially since you have equilibrium here, and honestly, I probably could go without this, but this does make this a total of 5 energy per second. I just prefer the comfort of knowing that I'm never going to run out of energy. Then we have Orgaze here. So this is his augment mod. He's got a couple different augment mods. I'll just go through them real quick. If you want to pause the video, go ahead and look at them. By the way, I actually run this in my index build. I use it for when you're trying to do the whole don't let them score a single point thing. You can put them up in like a triangle pattern, or a U pattern, I should say, almost around the thing, and basically they just can't get in. It works up until the really high level stuff when they start breaking them, but it's pretty effective in the early ones. Path of Statues, not a fan. Never what have been. Doesn't seem to work right to me. This seems unnecessary. In my opinion, once you start hitting millions of damage, you're fine. You don't need any more damage. You don't need to hit damage cap. So, alright, so Orgaze here. Every time I petrify, I scan an enemy into the codex, and they have a 25% additional chance to drop loot when killed. So I'm basically my own Helios. And on top of that, we have it affected by power strength, which means right now I'm sitting at a 49% chance, extra chance for them to drop loot. Now, I also have multi-augmented on here because everything here doesn't have to worry about being snapshotted except for Orpheum Eyes, and you still have to keep recasting that anyway since it's not a channel ability, so there's no worries about gaining extra power strength as you're going on. You're just going to get strong as you play the mission. So you get the extra 60%, I believe this gives you in power strength later on, and bringing it up to basically like 257. So all of this stuff, you'll burn their defenses faster, you'll get an extra drop chance and all that good stuff. Then we have the Arcane Reaper here. So Arcane Reaper does proc on your landslide, since landslide is a melee attack. Now, I understand there are other things, like I said before, to increase your power, more damage, and Arcane Fury and stuff like that, but I like the comfort of feeling a little survivable. I like being comfortable in any content I'm doing. So something like this is actually a nice little combination for him, and is something you can use to keep alive in situations where your powers aren't working. So, like violence shows up, he's going to shut off all your abilities. You're not going to be able to spam the landslide or something like that. And in those situations, just resorting to your regular melee and using this to heal yourself and survive gives you that little window of opportunity. Obviously, this isn't tactics that'll work when you're dealing with level cap and stuff like that, but I'm not, not everything's meant to be level cap. But anyways, let's move on here. And just real quick, we'll go over the Archon shards. I have casting speed to make all, Petrify. Actually, it's big for Petrify, really, just to make Petrify faster. It makes this faster as well. And on the landslide, I'm not even sure if it really affects that. Landside's always been fast. Then I have 2 ability strength ones. They're only regular, obviously, so that means you have an extra 10% ability strength you can still shove into this thing, meaning you can almost hit 270 in the end. Then I've got an ability duration and another ability duration. So obviously there's another 5% ability duration you can fit into this build for 130, just as a comfort of life to make this last longer. The Petrify's duration means absolutely nothing because they should be dying in under 10 seconds, so the 25 seconds I have is already more than enough. And it doesn't really affect anything else, so honestly, it's really just as a comfort thing for Orpheum Eyes. Feel free to change out the durations if you feel like you don't need them. Okay, so onto the Kubaton Core. I'm just going to show it to you real quick. These are the mods I'm using, just to go through them real quick. Like I said, I'm only really using it for fun, and because he can use it and shoot it in his face and it doesn't affect him. Plus the sprint speed. Also, this is important though. Primary dexterity. Primary dexterity here is an arcane you can put on your primary weapons, and basically it gets a damage buff whenever you kill something with a melee attack, which you're going to be doing most of the time anyways. So it means this thing's going to still end up packing quite a punch. Just to show you what I've kind of got going on, it's a gas, radiation, decent status, all that good junk. And the final one here, yeah, that just does a lot of stuff. But the real main purpose of it is the extra combo duration, because this does affect your fists, your landslide. Okay, and then we have the Grimoire. So the Grimoire here is actually a buff stick. You can mix it into your attacks as long as if you have it equipped. Honestly, the main combat style, if you're really trying to maximize this build, would be to walk around with the Grimoire out. And then just keep doing landslides and firing off the Grimoire when it maxes out, because it does charge while you're doing landslides. And getting the big aura burst to get your extra bonuses and ability strength here. Which that's what, 5, I can't think, so 60 more ability strength you can end up getting. Actually puts you up over 300% ability strength in the end. On top of this too, so if it does kill anything, it strips armor and shields within affinity range. And this is just my choice. Like I said, it's a stats, not a stat stick, but a buff stick, basically. Buff debuff stick, because of the Yahoo here. But nonetheless, that's kind of just all it's meant for. You just pop it off occasionally in between. It goes off into one direction to enemies. You turn around, you fight, fire a landslide or the other one, and you kill them. Then we have the Tekko Prime. Tekko Prime is actually Atlas's signature weapon. It gets a little extra status damage, and this is mine. I love the Tekko Prime. I don't know why. It's one of my favorites, up there with like the Sancti Magistar, for no reason other than the fact that I think they're awesome. And then, like I said, the extra status chance they get while they're in Atlas's hands. I did set up a melee influence build. I know that is not the biggest thing people like out there, but it allows me to have some AoE splash damage when I'm in a situation when I can't use my my landslide or something like that. Plus, it gives a little control because of the electric proc. So, and honestly, it hits decently hard. And being slash heavy like this and electric heavy allows me to stack up the slash procs real quick. I do have a ribbon. This is the ribbon I have for Tekko. I do not run too many ribbons, but I do have a handful of them, and this is one of them. Other than that, we have Condition Overload, Blood Rush, Shocking Touch for the electricity, Prime Reach, so we have more reach, so you hit more. Since it's a fist weapon, it doesn't have a very long reach. We've been moved through status. This actually is more just for more critical damage, since it's already... Well, since it's sitting at 113 critical chance right now, and it's going to have Blood Rush going and stuff, and then more critical damage with Organ Shatter. This is because, like I said, in general, you're only going to be using this when you don't have any of your abilities available, or just for fun. So this allows you a little more survivability as you're trying to charge through the gunfire there. And then it's just Seismic Palm. I know that there's special moves and stuff in some of these stances and whatnot, but I just run the stance that feels comfortable to me. So if there's a better one out there, use it. I'm also running Narman because just trying to keep your combo counter going for school here with the Power Strike. Everything else is kind of unnecessary. That way we don't lose the entire combo counter when the combo counter amount times out, which, by the way, if I look at it, it looks like we get a combo duration of 20 seconds. That is because of the arcane I have on the primary and the arcane dexterity that we have on the secondary. Alright, now we have Landside. So this is the fists we're working with. So it's got some decent stats and everything. I've got Blood Rush on it, Condition Overload, Organ Shatter. We've got some Fire and Toxin here. I know that you could probably go with the what the hell is it called? Molten Impact here, a little bit more damage on this rather than status. But I wanted that small chance for status just a little bumped up. It's just the way I like it, so I get a chance for the gas a little bit more. Obviously, if you want raw damage, go raw damage. And then we have the Galvanized Steel, once again. These crits almost 100, so Blood Rush, it'll be over that, so this is going to be the extra critical damage, which overall will be a bigger damage increase. Then some Gladiator Might, just to kind of boost up on the critical amount, and critical chance and critical damage amount. Honestly, feel free to run this whatever way you want, but this is just the one that I use. I'm also using Melee Exposure, seeing as how I don't need... well, don't have a great status to begin with, and you don't need to do influence. You can run melee exposure, which gives you a nice, good chunk of extra damage, up to 240% as you cast your abilities, which you will always be casting your abilities, because this is an ability to cast. You also have a range of 10 here, which is actually different than what you probably saw on the stat here. It only says 7. So it's actually 10 now due to prime reach, so each category and stage of the punch as you go through is that 3 meters farther, so it saves you from using a bunch of range mods. Then we have the pet real quick. Okay, so this is one of the sisters of Parvos Hounds. This is the weapon real quick, which is going to be important. Just note that it does viral, magnetic, radiation, heat, puncture, and impact, so it increases chance for the mercy hits. It lowers damage. It hurts some armor with the heat. It does radiation, which causes them to take extra damage from each other and to attack each other. It does magnetic, which increases damage to shields, and it viral procs for you. And this all happens because of Manifold Bond, one of the most busted companion mods ever. But just to go through this real quick, we have what I call the debuff orb reflectability, but we have Rebo Audi here, which gives disarms enemies, and I will tell you this is affected by Manifold Bond and what is on your weapon, so this does proc all of those statuses. Then we've got some extra health here. Prime Pack Leader, because your landslide does proc the overguard and the heal on this, so you can very easily maintain your pet as long as that's on there. Reflex Denial, you know, you wouldn't think it's this great thing because it doesn't outwardly do anything, but it does give him a nice damage resistance, and the pulses actually are some of the strongest things. I've seen these pulses easily break millions of damage sometimes, so it's actually very powerful. This spark here is one of the items that I use just to spread all the statuses, because both this and this will also spread all the statuses from their weapon with the Manifold Bond. And honestly, it's just a bouncing little spark, and does electric procs too, which does some crowd control. Then we have Guardian Air, so when I run on shields, to give me shields to help with shield gate and stuff. Link Fiber, just for more armor on him, so he's a little more survivable, since he's got a decent armor and health here, plus I give him the healing in the Overguard, allows him to health tank to a degree. Then we have Synth Deconstruct, so this kind of tags into both this, and this, and this, and this, to allow me to get chances for ore drops on enemies, to allow me to feed into Equilibrium. Then we have Vacuum, which is just mandatory because for some reason they still haven't made this like an automatic function on pets, or just on the Warframe in general. I don't know why we have to waste a mod slot for this crap, but anyways, just to back out of that real quick. So, just to get into it. So we're going to show, so as you can see, I don't necessarily have all these things to the high. I can only go 210. I think we can go higher than that, but I don't have everything unlocked yet. Sorry, I'm lazy. Just to kind of show you some groups, start with the Tech Rod because it's probably going to be the easiest. This won't even be every 30 bucks. So you just kind of sit here, the pet fires off that stuff, so this is a good example to show the pet. And you'll see they've already got a decent amount of debuffs on them. The pet's going to town, does decent damage, everything, and he's basically just your primer, is what he's doing for you. And then you do your little hit, and you can see there was plenty of 500,000 numbers, you know, already breaking the millions with yellow crits. With it, you know, and that's only my second hit. That's all I'm, you know, all I'm doing right now, and it's just going up and up, and it's going to keep going up. So hold on a second. Let's kill the enemies, clear the room, because as you can tell, even the pet could take down Is that a corpus? Okay. Even a pet could take down those guys. So, move on to the next group real quick. Again, to level 210. So now we're going to show you some of the real stuff. So generally, you have the Orphan Eyes on. Now, believe it or not, these things are awesome. Not only does it provide light in dark areas, and strip armor and slow enemies and everything else that can't move, like these guys, just, you know, just toast. They also allow you to kind of see enemies better. So instead of trying to see enemies in the chaos and stuff like that, you can actually see the numbers. And then you're like, oh, I got enemies in the distance there that I can see. They're in line of sight because the Orphan Eyes is hidden. So you can kind of just fire your ability off into that. It makes it much easier when dealing with the chaos that is multiplayer. As you can tell, easily doing millions of damage, only 7 times multiplier right now. Not even using my not battle increases, but my damage increases from Petrify yet. Let's go to these guys. Orpheum Eyes, start stripping armor, do that, boom. There's a 7 million red crit over there, but everyone just, it's gone. 3 million red crit, 8 million red crit. And the hits, the later hits in the combo are actually a lot stronger. Like, if you get to the 3rd hit in the combo, it's far stronger. Like, that's when you're going to see in the 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, and higher millions. And it's very simple. You rip through like a site sometimes, stuff like that. Yeah, still, things are still going. Petrify, bang. 12 million right there. I still haven't hit the 12 times multiplier. 22 million. That's still only the first hit, too. Like I said, the later hits get even stronger. So as you can tell, it's not, the breaking the damage cap, but it is plenty of damage to actually kill anything in the game you need to work with. It's a more than comfortable build. That'll get you through any of the content. Alright, so we're getting on to the last thing here. So we're going to go over to the Murmur battle group here. We're going to simulate. And so you see how the weapon thing here, when I mentioned you can use the Grimoire, you can have it out. So a couple things here. Let's see. Will the pet do it? No, it won't do it. But anyways, what I wanted to show you was when you fire it off, and I think I still have the buff from it, it gives you the power strength. So essentially what you'd be doing is you'd be doing this, and you see the bar fill, right? And as you're fighting, you fire this off in one direction, and then you would charge at something over here. Obviously, we didn't have anything over there, and we'd have the power strength boost that we have right now of, I believe, 12%. And right now it's only 12% because it wasn't the greatest thing, but hold on a second, we'll redo that real quick. And then we just pop that in. And that's without Orpheum Eyes on, that's without Petrify. I mean, honestly, you could get through with Atlas with just how his landslide is nowadays, but with all the rest of it, you slow enemies, you have crowd control, all that stuff. Let's go to Sentience. Kill enemies, get to the Sentient battle group. Once again, so you would fire this off, and then you hit. And most of the time, I should have petrified first. Whoops. And the pet and the DOTs dots are all DOT dots, same thing, but they're all, it's ripping through the Sentience like they're nothing. And you just kind of go around cleaning up trash if you missed anything. The later hits in the combo do higher range, so once you're starting to get into tough content, it actually gets even easier to clean rooms. That's 19 million damage against the Sentient. My Orpheum Eyes was already off. So it's just a good example of how easy it is to kill anything with this build. But anyways, thank you for joining me. I hope you guys liked. Please like and subscribe if you do. It really helps me out on the video channel and for the mission to do these things. These builds are for fun, and I hope you have fun playing them. Peace.